Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. It's our final episode of 2021 as Grandmasters for all three regions wrapped up this past weekend, sending 3 more players to the World Championship. My name is CJ. I'm joined, of course, by Sottle. And Sottle, how are you doing today?
Very random intonation to hear my name in 2 times in a row. You managed to replicate it
Sottle.
perfectly. 3 times you managed to replicate it perfectly now. Very surprising. Yeah, I am over the moon. Like, honestly, I know some people kind of go through, post-big event depression. I go through post-big event adrenaline. Like, I get super hyped up about Hearthstone after big moments like this, and I think big moments is absolutely what we had throughout the playoffs. I think all 3 regions absolutely delivered. I think we put on 3 fantastic shows overall and can be happier with the representatives that we have going to the World Championship.
Yeah, we have reigning world champion Glory. We have the Hearthstone prodigy himself in Gabby. And then we have the ultimate DJ Hearthstone extraordinaire, MC Banterface. First season of Grandmasters, the newbie, making it to Worlds. So pretty good roster, I'd say, coming from Season 2. And honestly, from Season 1 as well. I had a little bit of sadness yesterday after things finished up just because, another season of Grandmasters in the books. But I also share your same sentiment of I'm pretty hyped for what's next.
Yep.
But enough of that sentimental stuff.
Mushy stuff. Let's flame some people, TJ. Come on, let's go.
Hell. Oh, heck yeah. Let's get into some hot takes. Hot take number 1. Despite the fact that the 3 regional champions had conventional lineups, the targeting lineups made more sense.
Damn right. Bunch of freaking high rollers.
Boom.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with this. I talked about it all weekend, honestly. Right from the beginning, I think in Europe we had Bunny Hopper looking like he should just march 2-0 through his group, and then he didn't because he ran into Gabby, and Gabby smacked him down. Then it looked like RDU maybe was in prime position because he had favorables against everyone. Looked like maybe Frenetic was going to play ultimate spoiler because he had favorables against everyone. But I do think it made sense. I think the players who found a really, really nice niche. I think in particular, Bunny and Alan's lineup made perfect sense because they managed to turn a double target into a triple target with just some of the tech cards that they had. But generally, these players who were playing very aggressive lineups were looking to create favorables over Druid, Handlock, and sometimes Demon Hunter as well, creating kind of this triple soft target thing. And statistically, it created situations where if we ran the playoffs 100 times, I think we would be seeing someone like Bunny Hopper or RDU being our World Championship representative for Europe. And I think it was a very similar story across multiple regions. But that's just not how it works. If you run into Gabby and Gabby just nuts you with Druid, then you're going to lose and Gabby's going to go to Worlds. And actually, now that I think about it, if we ran it 100 times, Gabby would just summon 4 Illidari Inquisitors 100 times in a row. That's actually just how that works. And I realize everything I've just said is nonsense.
Yeah, same with McBannerface. I put him on kind of the same level as Gabby. Very similar paths, to get to that point, right? The finals seem pretty similar. So just going to throw that out there. You run that 100 times, and, McBannerface dodges the Void Shot 100 times. That's just how it works. But yeah, I think America's was also interesting. I'm going to sit on the fence. No, I'm not going to sit on the fence.
That's literally illegal in hot takes. You have to argue the other side. That's the rules.
You're stupid. Results speak for themselves. I cast America's. I'm a very results-orientated thinker.
Good.
It's my nature. And so 3 conventional lineups won. That we should just stop the hot take there. Just shorten it, right? Despite the fact 3 regional champions had conventional lineups, targeting lineups made more sense. Just take out all the fluff on the outside. The 3 regional champions had conventional lineups.
Yeah.
Boom. That's part of the hot take. The consistency needs to be there, and I don't think that the consistency was there for some of the targeting lineups. It seemed like they were too flimsy because if they lose one good matchup, they lose the series. That's honestly what it felt like in a lot of scenarios. In Americas, it felt like everything was coming down to like a Face Hunter mirror, and whoever won the Face Hunter mirror won the series regardless of their lineups. That's honestly how it worked, because the conventional lineups often included Face Hunter.
Even outside of that,
in a couple
some of
regions.
these target strategies were playing freaking Libram Paladin, TJ. Like, can you imagine betting your World Championship hopes on Libram Paladin being able to win games of Hearthstone? Couldn't be me. I do just want to call out, by the way, you said that Banterface might be on the same level as Gabby, and I involuntarily laughed incredibly hard. I'm not going to apologize for that, because I think it follows up on something that Fury Hunter tweeted at me earlier after Banter qualified for the World Championship. He referenced a few episodes ago when we were doing the order of the standings reflect player skill perfectly right now, whatever that take was. And I said, is Banter the 5th best player in Americas? Nah, I don't think so. Something like that. So I guess just factoring in that and me laughing at the idea that he's as good as Gabby, we can just build a feud off that going into Worlds, right? And everyone will get super invested, I'm sure.
I am already invested, just based off of my own first comment. But I do want to point out that despite the fact that I decided to disagree with the original hot take, I do think that if we look at some of the matches that happened, I'm going to go Americas because I have the most experience with it. I cast it. There were 2 matches where one player with a targeting lineup was literally 1 draw away from winning the series. Language Hacker in one of our very first matchups versus Fled, trying to target his Druid. If Lightning Bloom was not ripped off the top, he wins that game. And then the finals, Muzzy versus McBannerface, if he gets Void Shard or Deceptor off the top, he wins the game. Or if Fled somehow managed to get on the other side of the bracket and dodged Muzzy, Muzzy would have lost to whoever was on the other side. Fled would have gotten a conventional lineup in the finals and probably won. Because he was crushing it in every other match that he played. So, I do think that we at least have to give a huge shout out to the players that were able to dig down deep and get creative, especially the players that brought things that you wouldn't expect, like Libram Paladin, or like Fled's Demon Hunter, which was a Death Rattle Demon Hunter with Glide in it, right? Obviously a very hard target strategy. So I think this one is yet to be resolved, and we can resolve it at the Masters Tour that's going to be coming up in a couple weeks, because I think there's some, even if we see no changes between now and then, which I honestly don't know what to expect. 2 weeks is not that long. There's some room for creativity, I think.
I suppose just to wrap this up, whether or not we think that it was the right idea or not, like personally I think Bunny and Alan had the best lineup, like adapted for their individual regions as well. Like, I just want to commend the players that did it, because just again, if we're referencing old episodes of Hot Takes, I think we did one before, it's like players just aren't really engaging with Conquest. And I think just to continue the logic of that, I think for playoffs in particular, taking that kind of risk makes sense, right? It's something I talked about on the broadcast. Playoffs is all or nothing. You have to win. So going for some kind of hard target strategy and hoping you hit is the right idea, in my opinion. So I commend the players that tried it. And as you said, sometimes you're just going to need a bit of bracket RNG on your side. And some of the players didn't get that, or didn't get the big moment within the games.
Yeah. Agreed. They listen to us, Sottle. They watch Hot Takes and they're like, TJ and Sottle have a great point. Let's do that. All right. Now we're going to go. This Hot Take's pretty boring, actually. Hot Take number 2 here. But we're going to do it anyway. Hot Take number 2. Gabby is not even that good.
Yes, he is. I cede the rest of my time. Go ahead, TJ.
Yeah, he's not even that good. I mean, look at him. He's just high-rolling his way to the finals, high-rolled his way into GM in the first place, and now he's high-rolling his way into the World Championship, and he's probably going to high-roll there, too. I have Gabby as a favorite for the World Championship. I mean, that's a given. I've picked him every single chance that I've been able to pick him for the predictions. But don't let that fool you. It's not because I think he's even that good. It's just because he's the luckiest player ever.
Oh, sorry, were you hoping that I would jump in and save you from this giant grave that you're digging yourself right now, TJ? Of course I'm not going to do that. Gabby is the single best player in the world right now. People can go look at my Twitter thread if they want basically everything I'm about to say right now. 81.6% win rate in Grandmasters, 66% win rate in Masters Tours, rank 1 legend at will on any server. He went from a standing start to rank 1 legend on China, which is literally impossible with the amount of legends that they have, and he still did it anyway. He is the impossible kid. He is the best player in the world. He's the favorite for Worlds because he's just that much better than everyone else. I'd take Gabby versus the field. That's how confident I am that Gabby is the best player in the world.
All right, you got me. I got nothing. This hot take was just an excuse for us to talk about, I guess, the sheer dominance that Gabby has displayed in Hearthstone. I mean, obviously, the million Illidari studies to win the game was a cool, albeit lucky moment in a game. Yeah. We can't focus on that. We have to focus on all those results that you mentioned.
But again, no. I mean, this is.
Don't know if we'll see that level of dominance from another player for quite a long time.
And this is an important point, though, and this is where you can go wrong with looking at that, right? You can choose to look at the massive high roll of actually just hitting lethal that turn, right? That's a big deal. However, what he did was leave himself dead to certain outs from his opponent because he recognized that was the best possible thing to do. And then regardless of which 8 drops he was getting there, the game was won. He basically was clearing his opponent's board. He was getting way out of range of any lethal out, basically guaranteed with the hand that he had, and that's what he set up. So it's easy to focus and say, yeah, he absolutely high rolled, which he did. Getting lethal from that position is absolutely ridiculous. But he still created the situation for himself where he wins the game if his opponent doesn't have it. And I think we saw other players over the weekend in that exact same spot, or a very similar spot, not being able to take that risk, because when you see the bright lights of Worlds in front of you, your instinct is to play around any lethal out your opponent has, and that is just statistically incorrect in Hearthstone. You have to leave yourself dead in certain situations to maximize your chance of winning if your opponent has the punish. And I think Gabby is fearless, right? Like, I think the confidence and the arrogance that he has comes through in his play, and it allows him to be fearless in situations like that. And I think that's the one thing that he can do that other players can't right now, is that he just thinks things are going to work out for him, and therefore they do, because he puts himself in the position for it to happen.
To be young.
I know, right? Imagine
to be young and fearless.
Imagine not having your spirit crushed by the weight of the world already.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about, oh, look, he's accomplishing all those things, and he's only 16 years old or 15 years old a couple months ago, whenever it was. But maybe that just works to his advantage. Like, the only other time I've ever gotten the same vibes as I do when I watch Gabby's runs is from Hunter Ace. And Hunter Ace was also very young. Not quite as young as Gabby when he won the World Championship, but still similar feeling where he's so dominant. He's the obvious favorite. Going into a World Championship and being like, that's the best player in the world, and then him actually winning, right? That's the only time I've ever had these kind of feelings.
Well, I mean, Amnesiac was 12 years old when he blew a 3-0 lead against Pavel in the World Championships. You've got to factor that one in.
He's still 12 years old as far as I know. I don't have a source for that one yet, but I'm pretty sure he still is and will forever be 12 years old. But yeah, I think we can both say that this hot take is stupid because Gabby is incredible, and I don't think we could have an episode of Hot Takes at the end of an incredible run and not talk about him. So we had to put one to get an excuse to do exactly that.
Yep.
But we've reached the end of our final episode of Hot Takes for 2021. At least we think it could be the final episode. Maybe Sottle and I will return for a special World Championship episode of Hot Takes. Wouldn't that be fantastic? But we'll leave that as a surprise for you wonderful viewers out there who tune in week after week. But Sottle, it's been a pleasure so far this year. I don't normally do this because it scares me every time I leave the floor open to you. But any final thoughts? before I wrap us
I'm
up.
not that
for hot
scary,
takes?
TJ. What do you expect me to do? No, it's been a pleasure all year. I very much enjoy hanging out and doing these things with you, even if your job is primarily to troll me. And I think we've had an awesome year of Hearthstone Esports, which will only get better at the World Championship and then onward to bigger and better things the year after.
Well, that was a lot more tame than I thought it would be. Thank you very much, Saul,
Yeah, screw you,
for those
TJ.
words of wisdom.
You got baited, idiot. You suck.
There we go. That's better. That's better. But thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time for more hot takes.